Yeah, I want to go on the record for saying something because certain things are very complicated. Like the Civil War is a very complicated fucking issue. Where when I say the Civil War wasn't about slavery, it really wasn't about slavery in relationship to the North reasoning for getting into slavery. The South's reasoning for getting out of slavery, for optioning out of the Union, was slavery. It was the control of labor, though. The North wasn't like they didn't have altruistic reasons for why they wanted to end slavery. They wanted to end slavery because they wanted to control. They wanted to end the South's monopoly on labor. And the South did not want to give up its slaves, not because of economic reasons, because of the privilege that it presented them. And then also the idea that 32% of whites in the South own slaves. Again, that's about as many motherfucking goddamn Americans who have college degrees right now. So it's a significant amount of motherfuckers, and that's just in the South. Not to mention that there were slaves that were held in other aspects in other parts of America outside of the South that necessarily didn't share the same legal definitions as slaves. Like in New York, New York had slaves as well. I mean, that's why New York took the fucking position that it took at the end of the abolishment of slavery in relationship to vagrancy laws and the establishment of the police department in relationship to free slaves. So that's something that you kind of really gotta like read. You have to really like study slavery to understand, and the Civil War and the relationship between the Civil War and slavery. Slavery was a catalyst for the Civil War, but it wasn't altruistic. It wasn't an altruistic reasons why the North opposed slavery. It was because Northern industry suffered as a result of the South's domination or control over labor, and that control over labor had the North in the motherfucking South's pocket, and the only way that the North could attain or disrupt that control over labor was to abolish slavery in the South. So it really didn't have anything to do with, because even if you had extended, and the extension of slavery itself had threatened the North and gave the South even a greater control over labor, with free labor, because the slaves that would go west would still be controlled by the South. So even if you started moving slaves to the North, they would still be controlled by the South. The actual production of labor would be controlled by the South, and the actual control of labor itself, as long as slavery existed, would be controlled by the South. So, I mean, I just kind of want to go on the record that when I say that the Civil War really didn't have anything to do with slavery, but did have to do with slavery, I mean from an altruistic standpoint. That there was no altruistic, that's why they would establish after the Civil War the prison system and the vagrancy laws. Because it wasn't because they wanted black people to be free, they just didn't want the South to control labor. And if you study the actual fucking circumstances, that you realize that was the issue. The North wasn't. I mean, abolitionists themselves had more altruistic, intentions, but they were narcissistic altruistic intentions in relationship to abolishing slavery. But the North, as far as the power structure, the money structure, the finances behind the Civil War, had absolutely no altruistic reasons in relationship to wanting to end slavery. It was entirely financial.